Hi everyone, and Merry Christmas. My name is Terry, and welcome to my kitchen. Today, we're gonna make Almond Roca. Normally, Allan and I would have made it a few weeks ago. Life's been a little crazy, and I know some of you are waiting for this recipe to go online so you can try making it yourself. So, let's get started. Now, I got this Almond Roca recipe in 2008, actually, from my friend Janice. We had all gone over as a group from the garden club to her house one evening so she could teach us how to make it. I don't know how many of you are still making it. I know a lot of you had a lot of failures and gave up, but Allan and I have persisted over the last 13 years, and it's really very simple. It calls for 1 pound of butter. To that 1 pound of melted butter in the heavy pot he's got, we add 2 cups of sugar. And then when that's melted in, he adds in 2 cups of the almonds. He stirs that, and I'll show you how he stirs it and when he decides that it's got to the hard crack stage. And then I'll show you how we put it onto the pans, spread it out, cover it with melted chocolate, and sprinkled with more almonds. These bags of almonds from Costco are actually enough. Each bag makes 3 batches, and we only aim for 3 batches a day because that's about all the pans I have that are good enough and be able to get cool and break apart into the roca. So let's get started. The first thing Allan likes to do is have me chop up the butter into smaller chunks, and then he just stirs it to melt it at low heat. Now Allan's slowly adding the 2 cups of sugar, one at a time. And let that stir in, and then we'll add the other one. Now that the 2 cups of sugar have dissolved in and melted, now he's going to add the 2 cups of almonds. All right, cup number 2. So that's 1 pound of butter, 2 cups of sugar, and 2 cups of almonds. And now, what did you say you do with that, dear?
Well, stir for about 15 minutes before it comes to boil.
15 minutes before it comes to a boil.
12 to 15 minutes, and then another around 12 minutes to come to the sugar stage.
Okay, to the hard stage. Okay. Now, one of Janice's tips always was, absolutely do not stop stirring. The phone rings, the door goes, anything distracts you, do not stop. This is critical in the whole process. You don't want it to burn. While Allan's doing that, I'm going to get the topping ready. 1 cup of almonds, finely ground in my food processor. That only takes a few seconds to get it to this consistency. To sprinkle on top of the roca. Actually, sprinkle on top of the melted chocolate on top of the roca. And actually, that isn't quite finely ground enough because the chunks will then fall off too easily. So I'm just going to process it a little bit more. There we go. That's better ground up like that. Much finer. This is actually coming to a boil faster than Allan thought, but it's looking good. All right, the ground almonds are set aside to use, and I'm going to get busy melting down the chocolate. There's the timer on the stove. He's down to 13 minutes. Starting to change color just a bit. With the melting chocolate, I don't use all melting chocolate. I use about half melting chocolate and half chocolate chips to make 3/4 of a cup melted. Just like that, about half and half. Starting to get thicker. How many more minutes have you got left there? Huh?
10.
10 more minutes of stirring. So his big tip is that you're supposed to wait till you hear the first almond popping. But he's found that if he lets it go that long, then sometimes it tastes a little bit burnt. So he's got a different process he follows when he seems to know when it's gonna set. People said we should have a candy thermometer. But have you ever tried stirring that with a candy thermometer stuck down the side? It hasn't worked for us. Now, as far as melting the chocolate, I put it in the microwave for 2 bouts of 30 seconds, and it's not quite melted enough. So 1 more bout of 30 seconds should make it perfectly melted together. All right, the things I need for the next stages. I have these 2 restaurant trays, whatever you'd call them. Heavy-duty aluminum foil, some cookie sheets, large ones that I have, and this big old chopping board that I put the cookie sheets on when we pour the hot mixture onto them so it doesn't burn the counter. I know my friend Janice has a beautiful, I think it's solid marble or something, chopping board that she has. But anyways, I just use this old one. And it was outside and it's real cold, so it works just as well. Quickly, before I do anything else with the chocolate or anything, I needed to get this cookie sheet lined with the aluminum foil. And then I've made enough that it's double so that when the chocolate is in there, I can fold this over and press down the nuts. So that's how I've done that. Got it all lined. Okay. And Allan says that he's actually, that's moving along. How many more minutes do you think, hon?
I think it's done.
You think it's done? Oh, geez. Okay, hold on. All right. It was done in less than even the minutes. I still had another 3 minutes to go or so. And it's just that easy. Pour it on like this. And Allan, if you could just stop that for a minute and okay, I forgot a spatula. Stop there for a sec. Get all that off. Don't want to waste a speck. And in here, because we have 2 more batches to make today, and it's setting up already and crisping on the sides of this pot. And now we're just going to spread it around as best we can on this cookie sheet. Now the melted chocolate was perfect at 3 times. I heated it in the microwave at 30 seconds. So that will be just like that. Okay. That's good. Okay, that only took about 11 minutes to get to the hard candy stage. So we've poured it in the pans, spread it out, and now I'm gonna let it cool for about 10 minutes before I pour on the melted chocolate and sprinkle on the almonds. All right, racing on, because Allan's busy already with the second batch over there. Doesn't like to slow down once we get in a roll. So I'm gonna use about half of this melted chocolate. I'm just going to drizzle it all over this slightly cooled Roca. And then I'm going to use a pastry brush. If you don't have a pastry brush, I'm sure that you could probably just do it with your spoon if you had to, right? But I do have a pastry brush, so I do use it. Okay, make sure it's good and loose. And just go all around. And spread this chocolate nicely. You can go thin, you can go thick. If you're a real chocolate lover, it sets up anyways. enough of the chocolate. And it's spread over every part of this Roca. Okay, not too big of lumps. Smooth. All right, and now I'm going to sprinkle the ground almonds. Again, it's a good thing I made them a little finer. If they were bigger chunks, then they don't tend to stick into the chocolate and they'd fall off. Makes some nice extra chocolatey almond for that after you've broken it all up, actually to put on top of ice cream or something, if you're so inclined to do that. But a little finer's better. There, that's about good. Now, what we need to do is, I'm just going to grab a cloth and I'll be right back. Okay, grab the cloth. I think Janice might have made this for me actually, or got it from somewhere. Okay, we're gonna go like this. I'm gonna go fold that in half, press it onto there, and then press it down so the almonds set into the melted chocolate. Okay. Now, once that's done, pressed in, let that set. And to turn them over, go like this, put that pan on top of there, grab the edges of the cookie sheet and turn it like this. Ta-da! And take that back out. There we go. All right. Now, put that into there so it's in. And see if we can peel this off. Sometimes it sticks. Sometimes you gotta let it cool a bit longer to be able to get this off well. It still sticks a little bit. And it is sticking a bit. So we're just gonna let that cool down a little bit more so I could peel that aluminum foil back off and pour on the rest of the melted chocolate and the ground almonds before I set it outside to cool. So I'll go get busy and start organizing things because Allan's on batch 2. While I'm at this, I might as well show you how I make this tin foil in here. Turn the cookie pan upside down to get the design, flip it back over, and then put it into the pan again. So it's already shaped the aluminum foil to the shape of the pan. There we go. Good. All right. How's it going there, dear? How many more minutes? That looked like a finger at a time. I will get busy and see if I can put the second coat of chocolate on the first Roca. Okay, now it's come off just easy. It's cooled a little bit more so it didn't stick to the aluminum foil. I've tried different things over the years, tried some spray stuff on it to see if it would come off easier, because sometimes it's really stuck. But you know, at the end of the day, if you just let it cool for a few minutes, it's good. Okay, so we're just going to repeat that process on the other side of that Roca and on this Roca. And spread around the chocolate again. And once I have all that spread nice and evenly, then we will sprinkle the nuts. Okay, all done with the nuts. Sprinkled on. Again, pressing this tin foil down. Nuts into the chocolate to set and cool for at least a few hours. And I'm going to take it out and put it on our covered deck on the patio table out there. Let it cool. Okay. Pan number 1 out here cooling on this table. And there's room for all 3 of them when we get them done. All right, here we are already at batch number 2. The man's on a roll.
Another 11 minutes.
Another 11 minutes, just 11 minutes. Okay. It always was 15. Then we started marking at 12 to 15 minutes. And now he's got it down to 11 minutes because, do you think the dial? You always keep it at number 4.
Yeah.
And it seems to be perfect, but it seems to be setting up, and it was popping. Those almonds were popping. Like, whoa, get it off of there. Because if they're popping, it's just like that close to being too hot. And this one's even spreading bigger on the pan. So that's great. Okay. And I have to go rescue that melted chocolate because he's just too quick for me. I haven't even kept up my part of the of the making of this almond roca. So we'll just get busy and let this set, cool down for 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And then we'll put on the melted chocolate on this one and the nuts. Just want to make a note that sometimes, we don't have any idea why this happens, but sometimes it gets a little oily, the butter. Whether it was the brand of butter or, in actual fact, I read an article a few months back about some of the restaurants having this problem with the butter. So maybe it's actually a manufacturing problem at when they process the butter. But at any rate, if that happens and it's a little bit oily, I just take a paper towel. This isn't really oily. I mean, sometimes it's really been oily, but and just dab it off ever so lightly, just so some of the extra butter comes off. Though I suppose if it sets on there and cools, it's kind of nice to have that extra buttery flavor too. So it's up to you. Also, as far as grinding up all these almonds, be careful you don't grind them too much. You might end up with an almond paste in your food processor. But 1 cup is a little more than you really need. It seems to me that I worked out that about 3/4 of a cup of them ground up is about perfect, and thick enough when you sprinkle them on the top. And there you go. Almonds. Okay. Okay, again, now that those are all pressed into the chocolate, again, take another one of these trays over here, or I have this big old cookie sheet, which I will show you just the same. Put it onto here, grab it onto here, and flip it over. There you be. Take that off of there, and then we'll see. I think it's going to peel off very easily. We're going to have to let it sit. Move that down so it sits into the pan. There we go. Oh no, see? Sticking, pulling up. So we're just gonna let that cool for a few minutes before I try to peel it back and put the chocolate on the second one. A little tip. One thing to make sure you do when you're done with your pastry brush from spreading the chocolate is to thoroughly rinse it in hot water to get all the chocolate out before it sets into a hard lump, because then it's really more difficult to get out. I mean, it takes longer, but it's just better to clean it out right away when you're finished so all the chocolate drains out of it. All right, all 3 trays of this Almond Roca are now cooling out here on the patio, so we'll give those a few hours to get them nice and cooled and set. Time for the Roca to cool and the chocolate to get hard. Then, after that's done, I will bring it in and I'll show you how I break it up into chunks. I'm back. It's now evening. It's 5:30. And this is set up nice outside. Peel that off. So all we have to do here is just break it like this, and it snaps pretty nicely, actually. Like that. Into chunks, into strips that are, you know, whatever you can make. And then once they're in pieces and long strips like this, then you can just break it like this. It snaps quite easily. Sometimes if you try to make them too small, can't do it. Just too hard. That's an awful big piece. We'll just give it one more try. There we go. So we ended up making it in 2 pieces like that. So we'll put that in here. If you just press and push a thumb, it works pretty good. So I'll just keep breaking this up, pieces like this. You know, ideally any size pieces. I mean, it is homemade after all. It's not factory produced. So we'll go like that. And I have another one over here that had already gotten all broken up in the long strips, as you can see. And I will just proceed with breaking these all up and filling up this container. And I'll be back after I get that done. When I have measured this in the past, 2 of these batches equals about 5 pounds. And then when I bag it up and give it to people, I generally give them a pound each. So 2 of these batches will make 5 bags to give away. I have a 3rd tray to break up. And then of course, we have enough to make 3 more batches. If not tomorrow, then probably on Monday. Now, as I was saying in another part of this video, that after these are all broken up, you end up with broken chunks when you're breaking them. And you know, that makes a really nice topping on top of ice cream. It really does. It's kind of like one of those fancy treats you get at the Dairy Queen or somewhere. But anyway, that made this much, those 2 things, and so it should be at least 5 pounds. I could weigh it, but I've weighed it before, and it's about 5 pounds. I'm not only making up the 1 pound bags this year because the grandchildren have complained, the teenager ones. I'm actually going to do little bags for them as well, so they have their own, so they don't have to share it with the rest of their family. Anyways, I'm going to get just clean this up for a minute and move on and show you when I bag them up. All right, I have an assortment of bags here. You get these at the dollar store, 25 of them, I think, in a package. They're quite light. They're here. I have a few different designs. I like to double bag them because they're not that thick of a bag, and just put them inside of each other and bag them up like that. For the grandkids, I have all these ones that say, "Have a sweet holiday," and some that have Santa on them. So they're just little Ziploc bags actually. So we'll see if they can maybe get about 150 grams each in there. So we'll get the weigh scale and start bagging those up. All right, that's about done. Again, there's some crumbs left in the bottom of here. And so I will dump them into my little container for ice cream topping. Put that away. And I ended up with the 4 1-pound bags and 4 of 150-gram bags for the grandkids. Shh. And so that means I actually got 5 pounds and then 150 grams extra. So most of these little bags come with a twist tie. And these, of course, were Ziploc, so they're okay. And this one here, these I will just tie them nicely and there. Put a zip, and then usually I put some curly ribbon and stuff to make them fancy or forgiving. So anyways, I'm gonna get busy and finish doing that. I hope you guys have enjoyed learning how to make this Almond Roca. Those of you who are watching who are getting it for Christmas, pretend you didn't watch us making it. No. Anyways, I'm gonna say goodbye. Wish you guys all Merry Christmas and stay safe, okay? Bye-bye.